Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome as we wrap up a historic year in so many ways, but not the least of which was income property, one of the best performing, probably the number two best performing asset class in 2020. Number one had to be Bitcoin, but that was super speculative, gambling. And now we're seeing some new regulations against one of the cryptocurrencies. So if you are a gambler or a speculator, that's a different topic. But income property was the best performing investment of 2020. And that's, of course, the type of income properties we recommend in good, solid, linear markets with cash flow. And we're here to talk about that today and to talk about what is ahead. I've got one of our brightest minds, and that is Adam with us. Adam from Austin, welcome.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, I hope you had a good Christmas. How was it?
It was good. We stayed in, just did immediate family stuff, and yeah, the kids got a Switch. They've been playing that all the time.
What's a Switch? I hate to sound so completely on it.
Nintendo Switch is a video game system. It's a year or two old, maybe 2 years old.
Got it.
We bought it for them, and they've been going hog wild over it.
Cool deal. Well, gosh, with 4 kids, Adam, Christmas is an expensive affair for you and Aaron, right?
Aaron likes buying gifts, and it ain't cheap. I'll put it that way.
Well, you got to have a good wife to spend some of the money that you are earning from your portfolio, because you two are doing a great job investing, and of course, you're helping our clients invest too. But on your own personal portfolio side, you've really been accumulating a lot of properties, and doing it at a young age. So that's fantastic, and doing that with 4 kids. Is challenging because you've got a lot of expenses, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. We homeschool, and my second oldest, he's 8 now, and he is a big fan of money. He likes making money, he likes saving money, and then he really likes spending money. And he's been writing short stories for school. And originally, he wrote a series called The Dog Escape, and he wrote 4 of those. And now he's writing a series called Dog and Baby Make Money. Uh-huh. And they're making money to buy rental properties.
Oh, that's great. I love it. That's totally awesome. Well, I like that kid. Your oldest, reminds me, I used to watch the reruns of, what was the show called? I think Family Ties with Alex P. Keaton. Was that the one where Michael J. Fox played him, and he was the kid who was really into money and the stock market and, all of that stuff. And he was going to grow up to be a businessman. And anyway, good stuff. Well, what do you have for us today? You want to talk about the review of 2020 as we wrap it up, and then what to expect in 2021, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to show real numbers from 2020. I'm going to break down my portfolio for people, because figure, we talk the talk. We got to show that we walk the walk and show people good and bad. We had a couple properties not do so well, and we had a couple properties knock it out of the park. So I'm going to show numbers from that. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what we can expect for 2021. So
yeah, and this is the reason to have to try and build a larger portfolio, because then you have the law of large numbers working in your favor, and you're always going to have a dog property or two. And it doesn't mean that it's a dog property. It just might have had some dog situations, bad tenants. And I don't know why we say dog. That's the wrong word. Dogs are such good creatures. But anyway, that's the expression. That's how it goes.
And especially what I tell people is, you look at where you want to get. So say you just think you need 10 properties. Realistically, what you want to do is you want to get up to 12, because that way you can take that buffer of, if 2 properties don't do well that year, at least you've got another 2 that are likely to perform well, and kind of average that out. So kind of, I always tell people, look at where you want to get, see what numbers are going to get you there, and then buffer that a little bit to make sure that, if you fully quit your job and you're living off rental income, you'd hate one year to be like, well, I just had 3 out of 20 properties do horribly, and that was, now my budget's gone. But if you make it up to 22 or 23 properties, suddenly 3 properties don't do well, and that's no fun, but it's not, life altering.
You even it out definitely with a larger portfolio. So that's great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's dive in. Take us through some of your visual aids here.
All right. So remember, if you want to reach out to us, you can go to jasonhartman.com, fill out any form, and we'll get back to you. Or, as Jason likes to say, call us on the good old telephone, 1-800-HARTMAN.
And that's a U.S. number only. We have listeners to the podcast in 189 countries worldwide, which amazes me. It's really awesome. It's an amazing time to be alive. And that number is U.S. only. Just keep that in mind, folks.
Yeah. All right. So there's the construction site for real estate in 2021. So first off, I want to talk about where we are at this exact moment. So I found this chart from Business Insider. They sourced it from a group called First American Financial Corporation. And they show the 1-year moving average.
That's a division of First American Title, and I've had their chief economist on the show before, and they do some good research. So good.
Yeah. So this is housing completions per new household. So anytime a kid moves out of the house and starts living on their own, new household is formed, and this is the new construction based on that. And the black line is roughly where the 1-to-1 is, where realistically you're not growing your inventory, but you're holding steady. And if you look at over the past 12 years, we've been below 1. And right now, in 2020, as of, I believe this was in like October or maybe November they did this, it's 0.4. So we are heading into 2021 in a drastic deficit like we've talked about before. But this kind of showed the deficit in numbers that was very eye-opening to me. So I wanted to put them on here as we started talking about 2021, because you really see how big of a deficit we're running going into the new year.
And so what does that mean to people? There's an inherent housing shortage. And also, speaking of deficits, look at the country and the kind of deficits it's running, due to COVID. That has really, really put a lot of money printing, money creation, and inflationary pressure into the system.
Yeah, so what this would mean is, when you think about it, if there's no new homes being built and we're only relying on existing, it's putting an amazing amount of pressure on home pricing. So, if you've got, 10 people moving out looking for places and there's only 4 places to rent, so or buy, whichever one you want to look at, most likely if they're forming a new household, they're going to be renting. I would say a good majority of them, based on when most people buy their first property versus when they move out of the house in the US. So, if you got 4 homes for 10 people, you're looking at, appreciation pressure and rent pressure that's very good for landlords, not so great for people looking for properties and trying to save money.
So it's good for sellers and landlords.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Because there's this scarcity. But the question is, how much worse will the scarcity get?
Yeah.
Yes, it is difficult to source inventory of properties to buy. But I say for a couple of decades, or at least a decade, that shortage is going to get a lot worse than it is now. And by the way, Adam, just to interrupt for one moment, we have some comments and questions coming in. Folks, type in your comments and questions below. Also type in, let us know where you're watching from, where you're listening from, or what you got for Christmas or Hanukkah.
All your new goodies.
Yeah.
Tell us what they are, because Jason might go out and buy them himself.
That's right. Consumerism. Got to keep the economy running. 70% of the U.S. economy is consumerism.
All right. So we've got a housing shortage. So now we look at, so if there's a shortage, you think obviously the builders want to build, right? Because you've got a massive glut or massive deficit to fill. But if you look at the single and multifamily housing starts, this is coming from the U.S. Census Bureau and the National Association of Home Builders. They haven't been building all that much, and they're not expecting to build. They're expecting to move up a little bit. So that line, that vertical line, is where we are now. This was as of the end of the third quarter of 2020. And then so you look over to the right, and that's where they're expecting. The first quarter of 2020 is where that big drop happened, just to the left of the line. And they're not expecting us to get back to where we were building in the first quarter until mid 2022. So, I mean, this is not so you think between now and 2022, we're going to be running at 0.5 homes per new household, maybe 0.6 if we're lucky. So realistically, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, we've got at least a year and a half to 2 years of appreciation before we get to a status of, potentially reaching the new home per household form.
Now,
so very, very bullish.
Yeah, we are very bullish for the next couple of years for sure. But one thing I do want to say is, of course, supply and demand, and this only shows the supply side of the equation, not the demand side. That determines mostly prices, right? It's the most basic rule of economics, is supply and demand. But also interest rates play into this, jobs, population growth, etc. And what I've talked about a lot, especially in our pandemic investing course, which is shadow demand. And there is a lot of pent up shadow demand. During the Great Recession, they talked a lot, and you heard the phrase shadow supply, meaning inventory that hadn't hit the market yet. But right now, we've got massive shadow demand in terms of people in urban areas that want to move. We've got roommates that want to expand out, get their own home. A lot of them are working remotely, so they need that extra bedroom for a home office. They're either scared to go to the gym, or the gym is closed, and so they need an extra space to work out. Hopefully people are into fitness because it's good for you. Exercise, folks, exercise. There's just huge things. And the Fed that we have under Jerome Powell, our rich uncle Jerome Powell, as I like to call him, has said in no uncertain terms that interest rates are going to remain low for a couple of years.
Yep.
So with these low rates, housing affordability has just massively increased. And that's why you see properties flying off the shelf. I've never seen it like this in all of my years of doing this. And I've seen some really tight markets, multiple offers, bidding wars. And that's the kind of market we're in now. And I think it's still got quite a bit of juice left to appreciate, and a lot of constricted demand. So it's pretty amazing. It's counter to a lot of other things that are going on in what I like to call half the economy, the other half of the economy, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, you essentially have shadow demand from 2008, 2009 through today, because there haven't been enough homes.
Right.
And then you also have the people who went into bankruptcy during the Great Recession and couldn't afford, couldn't get a loan.
Right. Or foreclosure.
Higher lending standards.
Yeah. Either one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, absolutely. You've got a lot of demand there in place. And so, I believe,
Adam, I don't want to forget to mention also, remember, we have to tell people about our contest. We have an awesome contest. You can win $500 cold hard cash. $500. This is our stimulus contest. and this is free. And folks, let me just tell you something. Your odds of winning are quite good. It's not like we have 1 million people entering this contest, okay? So we're going to have 2 winners, $500 a piece. And just go to jasonhartman.com/contest and enter. It's really easy. Takes you 2 seconds. And you can increase your odds of winning by performing a couple of actions. And you'll see those on the page, jasonhartman.com/contest. Get yourself in for that. You have a very high likelihood, very good odds of winning. Go for it, Adam. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this next chart, I think, is going to tie into Ron Gustafson's question down there from Lehigh. Hello, Ron. He said, how will the housing shortage be affected by the baby boomer silver wave? And that you can thank COVID for the likelihood of their stuff coming online in the very near future took a massive hit because of COVID. This is from the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity. This was as of the end of August 2020. 42% of U.S. COVID deaths occurred in nursing home and assisted living facilities. So the idea of aging in place, we've talked about it for quite a while now.
Yeah.
But I mean, if your parents are getting up there and they may be able to age in place, or you may want to move them into an assisted living center, COVID has made that a much, much bigger decision to make.
Sure. And so the other thing that creates more shadow demand here, shadow housing demand, is of course people are scared to go into the assisted living facilities and the nursing homes. That's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it is technology has allowed and enabled aging in place to a much greater degree than ever before. I mean, simply things like the Apple Watch or any of the other smartwatches. Your aging parents can wear those, and you can set up alerts to where they will alert you if there's no heartbeat, if there's a slip and fall, if they're not active enough, heartbeat irregularities, all kinds of incredible stuff in terms of the technology. Remember in the olden days, folks, you saw that commercial. A lot of people made fun of it. It was sort of funny. Adam, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yep.
The woman with the big necklace, or with the big
Life
thing
alert
on it, that was like an alert button. I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, now you can just tell Alexa or Google Home Assistant. I had to spell that because she's going to start. She's already eavesdropping, but
she's going to make it known that she's eavesdropping.
Yeah, right. She's going to tell you she's eavesdropping. But we've got all of this incredible technology, and it's only going to get better to allow independent living. And you can use cameras. I mean, that you got to be careful with that, obviously. But in like common areas. There's just all kinds of things that increase this ability for aging in place, which means less supply. Okay, so these people are not going to give up their homes, especially with these incredibly low interest rate mortgages, if they purchased or refinanced in the past year, or even a few years, but they probably did it last year or they're doing it now. These mortgages are a huge asset, and people are not going to want to let go of those mortgages. And that will further constrict supply because they don't want to part with that great mortgage.
Yeah. Plus, you look into especially older couples. We have a couple here around our neighborhood I've seen where one of them looks like they could definitely be aided by a nursing home or assisted living, but the other one's chugging right along. And so the kids will do whatever they can to help out mom so that dad doesn't have to move into the nursing home, or help out dad so that mom doesn't have to, because they don't want to split them up. You don't want to do that. So you have to factor in that in a lot of cases it either has to get really bad, or both of them have to start going downhill before they move out, and you really get that wave of properties. So the wave of properties you're talking about, I mean, with the age, with people living longer and being able to age in place longer, you're potentially looking at years and years down the road before they really start coming available.
No question about it. Remember the demographic cohorts. Okay, you've got the baby boomers, 76 million Americans. I think the oldest baby boomer now is turning 75 or so, I want to say. I could be wrong by a couple of years. And by the way, demographers disagree on these exact ages of the various cohorts, but generally, and then you've got the Gen Xers, my generation, small cohort, only 46 million Americans, and that when we get up to that age and we become empty nesters, that will leave a bit of a hole in the market, if we don't have immigration to fill that gap. And then the millennials, though, it's going to flip right around again, because that's even larger than the baby boomers. That's 80 million Americans. And then Gen Z is now coming into age where, even they are starting to buy homes or move out and rent their first home. So the demographics coming at the rental housing market and the housing market in general for the next 10 years, the next decade, are absolutely phenomenal.
Renewed it again. Keep renewing it.
Yep, I did. And what Adam's talking about is I made that prediction. I made that statement 10 years ago, and I've now renewed that statement that the next 10 years, the demographics coming at the rental housing market are phenomenal.
Yeah, so he'll just assume that that's going to get renewed every year until he says otherwise at this point with the numbers where they're.
Well, it's renewed for the next decade. In 2030, I don't know if I'll renew it. We'll have to see at that point.
Yeah. So let's see. What do we have up next? Oh, so this will tie into Chris's question down here, Chris Colossa.
And Adam, do you want to take any of these questions formally? And I don't know from your end if you can pop them onto the screen.
I cannot.
Okay, so I'll do it. There you go. There's Chris's question.
Yeah. So he said, evidently on expansion side of housing cycle, new builds are ramping up. It's a seller's market. Demand is greater than supply for how long? How do external factors, governments affect cycle? Keep buying new construction versus turnkey. Well, Chris, you are in luck because one of my clients has works for Mr. John Burns, and he talked about this 2 weeks ago when Jason and I were doing our slide. But he sent me
that's actually a client of ours that works for Burns, huh?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I know that.
Yeah. So he sent me this, and it's new home sales are so strong that builders are now intentionally limiting sales at 28% of their communities. And this was a survey done, and these people being surveyed who responded represent about 15% of all U.S. new home sales. And I was shocked that in California, you've got the number, Northern California is number 1 at 48%, and Southern California is number 4 at 34%. I'm shocked that California allows them to even get away with that idea with the politics that are in place.
It's only because they haven't figured it out in California yet. Those builders will get sued or fined really soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. But
California is got this mass migration out of the state. It's absolutely shocking what's happening to California as this mass exodus. I left 9 years ago, but everybody's doing it now. It really caught on. Adam, I want to dovetail on what you just said. I am looking at an article right now. This is from the Wall Street Journal. It says, and it's today, housing boom brings land shortage for builders. American home builders face the prospect of a shortage of land next year, a shortage next year of finished lots or land that is ready to build. The scarcity means that builders could be unable to meet booming demand. And here's a couple of numbers for you. $300 million. How much home builder Meritage Homes nearly spent on land and development in the third quarter of this year, the highest number for that company. Okay. 8.2%. Now this is commercial real estate. 8.2%. The percentage of commercial real estate loans securitized into bonds that were delinquent as of November. That's up 2.3% from a year earlier. And we've talked about that. We don't talk a ton about commercial real estate because we've never liked it as much as an asset class as residential. Housing has universal need, but I have talked about how those commercial mortgage-backed securities are going to be just devastating because the office properties, the retail properties are really, really in trouble. Obviously, I don't think I need to tell anybody that. It should be pretty obvious, okay? And here's one more for you on the commercial side. Minus 8%. That's how much U.S. office rents could fall next year, according to a forecast from CB Richard Ellis Real Estate. So
that would not be good.
Yeah. It's not good for commercial, but a lot of that money is flowing into the residential investment because a lot of those investors still love the real estate asset class, and they're just putting that money into the residential side. And I've always said, housing. I've been beating that drum for 17 years. So it's all about housing. It has universal demand. It can't be outsourced to China. It can't be outsourced to India. It can't be outsourced to the Philippines. Housing. Okay.
Yeah, so Jason, let's go up to the top and take Michael's question. You'll be able to answer this. He says, "Morning, gentlemen. My wife and I live in Vegas and talking about moving to Florida. I'm a mortgage loan officer and work from home, so we can move anywhere. Budget is 900,000. What cities would you recommend?" I'm
Oh,
assuming this is for
well,
primary, Jason. So where should he live in Florida for 900 grand?
yeah, good question. First of all, I did that same move about 2.5 years ago. I lived in Las Vegas for a year and a half. Ever since I left California 9 years ago, I've been trying to figure out where I want to ultimately live and settle down. But I know I want to be in a no income tax state after getting just, pickpocketed by the Socialist Republic of California for so many years. I was either going to move to Washington State, Texas, Nevada, Florida, maybe Tennessee, in a no income tax state. And boy, saving that 13.3%, not paying California is awesome. Awesome. And soon to be 16.9%, by the way, folks, with a whole bunch of other taxes. And Prop 13 is going to get overturned. We've talked all about the California stuff. But when you ask about Florida, I didn't like Las Vegas that much, so I lived there a year and a half to try it out and then moved to Florida. When you ask about Florida, Michael, that's like asking about Texas or California. It's a really big state with a lot of geography and a lot of variety. Obviously, the main places are, Miami, which is a zoo. I don't like Miami at all.
He said he's in his 30s and expecting the first kid, so probably not Miami.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, families live in Miami, okay, believe it or not. And then Fort Lauderdale is a little more normal than Miami. Miami's kind of crazy. But Fort Lauderdale and Miami are quite expensive, actually. And Las Vegas home prices are very reasonable. Well, I mean, they're going up too. Everything's going up pretty much, except, New York City and downtown and urban areas are not going up. But up in Palm Beach or West Palm Beach, where in the area I live, it's very nice up here. This is a very nice area. I like it further north than Miami, but there's a huge dichotomy in Florida between the East Coast and the West Coast. They're very different. The East Coast is more like the population is so mixed now. It's everything, okay? But it's more kind of like an East Coast sort of New Yorkish type population. And on the West Coast, it's more of a Midwestern population that has moved down to, say, Tampa, St. Petersburg. Those are both really nice in different ways. Sarasota, I just had some other friends buy a big, home in Sarasota. They moved from San Diego. Wow, what a difference for them. They got acreage, so there really is quite a lot of variety. Also, the Gulf Coast, there are some nice areas in the Gulf Coast. There's Alice Beach and Mary's Beach up there that are really nice little communities. There really is just a lot of variety. St. Augustine, which is now we're back to the East Coast. I was there for Christmas and then went up to Jacksonville. You get a ton of house for your money in Jacksonville. Wow. Probably, the least expensive market for a big city. And Jacksonville has a lot of old money in it. So, everything is a very different flavor. Without knowing more, that is very difficult for me to tell you. I would, of course, say, see if you can rent a place for like a month in each of the major cities. Go online, look at the demographics. There's also a realtor. I think her name is Melanie or Melody, who does some great videos on YouTube about different markets in Florida. She's killing it on YouTube, a traditional real estate agent. So you might find her videos as well. And there's a lot of info there. Hope it helps.
All right. So we also have a statement from Timothy saying he read a report from LendingTree that there has not been a huge exodus from big cities. I've seen some reports lately saying people are, considering moving back after the pandemic and vaccine gets over, but not everybody's going to be moving back. And the numbers, you don't need a ton of people to move from New York City or LA. Even a small percentage is a huge number for pretty much every other city in the US.
Right.
If 5% of the people in New York leave, you're talking a million people.
Right.
Then suddenly, they're all flowing towards Florida and Texas and a lot of the markets that we're investing in. So, you have to remember this relative size is a whole lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a lot of people moving from the urban areas and flooding into suburban markets. It is a big, big move. And I have read some of those reports too, but there are a lot more reports saying there is a giant exodus. And just from our own experience, I can tell you that so many of my friends, our clients, are moving from those urban areas, or they are strongly considering moving. So I wouldn't believe those reports. There's an old book called How to Lie with Statistics, and there are a lot of ways to peel an onion to make things say what you want to say, but just use your common sense, right? If there was a contagious disease and now there's a new strain of it that may not, the vaccine may not work for, nobody knows yet. And there was civil unrest, riots, people breaking store windows, stores leaving and not coming back in. The playhouses and the theaters are closed. What's the point of living in one of those cities, right? Mass transit is a danger zone. Elevators are a danger zone. All the things that made those cities attractive, whether, we'll take New York, for example, Broadway plays, being close to high paying jobs, stores and retail and entertainment and restaurants and bars. It's all gone. Okay. I mean, not all, obviously, but a lot of it is not going to reopen because it's been bankrupted. It will take years for some of this stuff to come back, even after there's no pandemic and hopefully there's no civil unrest. So, and now the whole world has discovered they can work remotely, and employers have adapted and employees have adapted. And, it's just a different game. So just anecdotally and just using common sense, does that pass the sniff test when you read a report like that? People are leaving cities. There's no question about it.
Yeah, look at I don't have a chart of it here, but look at the U-Haul metric. There's a ton of, it costs a whole lot more to leave New York than it does to go to New York.
Right. And so what Adam's talking about there is we have done studies over the years, and, our clients have posted some of those too. Just go to uhaul.com and get the price for renting a truck into one of those big cities and out of one of those big cities, and see which one costs more, and you'll know which way the traffic is flowing. It's easy to tell. Okay. Michael says he's originally from California as well. And my last name is Hartman. Really? Wow, that's amazing. Are we related? And you're following my footsteps. So good stuff. Good move. How is your first property?
Robert Hernandez says, Jason, how much was your first property and what was the biggest mistake you made in real estate?
I don't remember how much it was. It was cheap because it was a long time ago. I was only 20 years old when I bought that, and I'm 23 now. Just kidding. That property could have been considered a mistake in some ways. It was a 1-bedroom condo, and I had to evict the tenants. And I've talked many times on the podcast about how that one experience could have been the discouragement experience. I would have had every reason. No one would have blamed me for giving up on income property at that point, because I had a bad experience. My first tenant in my first property, I had to evict them. I had a bad experience the first time, but I'm glad I stuck with it because I've had zillions of good experiences since then, and I've made millions of dollars with my income properties. So that could have been considered a mistake. Other mistakes, I don't know. Let me think about that. I mean, I've made lots of mistakes, and one of the reasons I do the podcast is for you to reduce your learning curve and learn from my mistakes. I would say one of them is trusting people. And I still make that mistake all the time. But not getting enough quotes on repair jobs, not getting them in writing, allowing people to, flake and take advantage of me. I mean, all this stuff has happened. Anybody who's got any experience in the world who's doing anything, is having problems, folks. There is no easy path to success in life. You know, it always looks like this. You know, you've seen that thing shared on social media, right? The path
like
to
a
success.
little family circus
Yeah.
strip. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got the sales being limited. We're talking about how markets are going up. So I looked and I found a study by PwC and Urban Land Institute. It's the U.S. housing markets to watch in. Well, I think I typed it wrong. In 2021 emerging trends in real estate. And so this is the 42nd edition of the study. They interviewed personally 1,350 people. They got survey responses from over 1,600 people. So a survey of around 3,000 people. And these are people in the real estate industry. You've got 40% private property owners, now I'm rounding, or real estate developers, 20% real estate advisory or service firm, 10% private equity real estate investor, 10% investment managers, 10% banks or lenders, and 10% are builders, REITs, or other investors. So that is this. I didn't read the full study because it started talking about Canada and I didn't care. So
Canada has a big real estate bubble forming. I mean, their markets are nuts. They really are. Yeah.
So these out of the top 21 that they had listed, we are actually able to make properties work in 4 of them. And I found this pretty incredible that these are markets that we're able to see work. And so I just pulled I went into each of these markets and just pulled the most recent property that was uploaded by our providers, just to show you kind of what you can get in these markets that they're considering, to be the best. The 3,000 real estate professionals have said, these markets are going to crush it in 2021. So the number 5 market was Charlotte. In Charlotte right now, we have new construction. You get about $200 a month cash flow, a 4% cash on cash, and a 31% total return on investment when you factor in appreciation and your principal reduction. Now, this is based on a 6% appreciation. I'm assuming they're thinking it's going to be above 6% based on the fact that it's the number 5 market for them. And the likelihood is...
And just, of course, a little disclaimer, Adam, these are projections. Nothing in life is guaranteed except death and taxes, and corrupt elections too. But thought I'd throw that one in for you. But the thing is, to those who are uninformed, right? 31% may sound like a pipe dream. You may think, oh, this is just BS, right? But not when you understand that income property is a multi-dimensional asset class. And that's why it is the most historically proven asset class in the world. It's the most tax-favored asset class in America. We all know many people who have created great wealth through income property. And so these kinds of returns are very possible. And many of our clients, I mean, we've done thousands and thousands of deals, have achieved these returns or better. I mean, some of them have achieved much better returns.
I'm going to show you my portfolio in a minute, and
okay. Well, go ahead. Yeah,
they're pretty good. So that's and plus you get about $7,000 a year in depreciation you can take on your taxes with this property.
And again, I got to make disclaimers, Adam. We're not tax experts. Check with your tax professional. There are some complexities to that.
Yes.
But anyway, just I'll say that I can't explain everything, folks. There's not enough hours in the day. But listen to the podcast for more.
All right. So number 11 market is Atlanta, Georgia. Now we don't actually have anything in Atlanta right this minute. Our builder will be doing another phase in 2021, but all of our properties that will be completed in the current phase in 2021 have been sold. But this was the most recent one put under contract in the Atlanta market. It's Union City. It's a little bit southwest of the airport. It's a new construction. You're expected to cash flow about $223 a month, a 5% cash on cash, and a 30% total return on investment in the number 11 market in the U.S. So not too shabby. The number 16.
And you can see all the assumptions on these performance. By the way, you can go to jasonhartman.com. There's a free video on the front page of the website, which will teach you how to read and understand and interpret every single number on this proforma. And down in the lower right on your screen, you see the assumptions that are driving the numbers. Okay, so just see that.
Yeah. So then we get into the Cape Coral market. That's number 16 on their list. Once again, new construction. A lot of the stuff that they're putting up now is estimated to be done in the second half of 2021. It's been appreciating great recently over the past year and a half, 2 years. Here, you're expected to cash flow over $300, a 5% cash on cash return, and a 31% total return on investment. Now, I want to make it very clear. We've talked about appreciation and how it's potentially really good. All of these pro formas, the appreciation cannot be higher than 6%. Don't let it happen. On our,
well,
on
that's what we limit it to.
Yeah.
In other words, is what you mean.
Yeah. If you remember from previous episodes I've done with you, for example, in 2020, Atlanta did 9%. The Cape Coral area, I think, did around 9.5%.
Yeah. So in other words, we limit the maximum appreciation on the proformas to 6% annually because we want them to be conservative. But many of them have outperformed that number very significantly by like 1/3 or 50%. Yeah.
Yeah. You up this Cape Coral, or actually all of the markets that we're in that have been around 9%. You up your appreciation to 9%, your total return goes up to more like 37, 38%. So then the number 21 market is Indianapolis. This is the only market that we're in the top 21 that doesn't have new construction currently. These are all rehabbed properties. And the most recent one was this one. You can get $273 a month cash flow, 9% cash on cash, and a 34% total return on investment. So there aren't a ton of markets in the top that you can make money in, but it's the current expected ones. We have properties in those markets. So yeah, so just wanted to let everybody know that we have those available.
Good right. Stuff.
So I got this from one of our builders the other day in my email, and it shocked me. It's about how quickly new construction properties are getting their full deposit for a renter placed from the date of the certificate of occupancy. And so just so people know, with new construction, before you can actually have somebody live in a home, you have to get a certificate of occupancy. Before your lender will even approve a closing, there has to be a certificate of occupancy.
Otherwise known as a CO.
Yeah, otherwise known as the CO, and where it says average days from CO. So realistically, when you get the certificate of occupancy, you've got probably at least a week before you're actually closing on the property. So keep that in mind as we go through there. In November, Ocala was 6.2 days before a full deposit was placed. Palm Coast was 33.6 days. Jacksonville was 14 days. And Georgia was -5. So they were getting tenants in place before there was a certificate of occupancy. Or lined up, I should say, not in place.
Yeah.
So in December, when things get slower, it did slow down, but you still look at Ocala, 14 days, Jacksonville, 22 days. Palm Coast improved by 11 days and got down to 22 days, and Georgia was at 13 days. So these markets that are in such, in appreciating markets, giving you good returns, are also, you're looking at potentially 2 weeks on average without a tenant, after you close, which we tell people, when you close on a new construction, kind of expect, maybe 30 to 45 days. The good news is you don't have to pay your mortgage the first month. They give you that month buffer. So people are being placed very quickly. And I think we can thank some of the big cities and the exodus from them for our quick turns.
Yeah. No, it's really amazing what is going on right now. The opportunities just abound. Like I always say, Adam, the Chinese symbol for crisis is the same as the symbol for opportunity. And translated literally, it means crisis is an opportunity riding the dangerous wind. I love that. And, that this is a huge opportunity for so many people that seize the moment, right? And Many people have their head in the sand and they think the world's going to end, and humanity just finds a way to keep on going. And look at what has happened. I mean, overall, now the stats aren't in for the year, but I think last quarter it was. We talked about this on a prior broadcast. I just don't remember the exact number, but I think the appreciation rate was like 14.8% or something like that. Do you recall what that number
It was in the last quarter of the U.S. The appreciation in a quarter was like 3.5% or something like that.
Right, annualized number.
Annualized, it was like 14%.
Yeah.
For the whole country across 2020, real estate appreciated at like 7.5%, and in the last quarter, it had been like 3.5%.
Amazing. In one quarter. So that's more than 1% per month. And remember, one of the ways your returns are so phenomenal on income property is that those are leveraged returns. Okay. So if you're putting 20% down, you can just multiply by 5. I mean, it's incredible. Plus cash flow, plus tax benefits, et cetera, et cetera. It's a multi-dimensional asset class.
Yeah. So, you ready for the portfolio review?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happened to you, Adam.
These are my personal properties. We got all the 2020 numbers in. Now, obviously, there could be a repair done. Repair could be needed between now and the end of the year. But as of yesterday or 2 days ago when I put this together, these were the actual numbers for 2020 for each of our properties. Now,
okay, so we're gonna see Adam's real portfolio.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is one of our properties in Jackson, Mississippi. For the year, so I'll explain a couple of the numbers. Number one, the cash on cash on the bottom right here that says 77.96. What I started doing in my spreadsheets is I have way too many data figures in my spreadsheets to begin with. But I started thinking, you know what? We look at how how the money we put into the stock market did in 2020. Why don't I look at the money that I actually put into my property in 2020 did? So I started putting in all the money for repairs and PITI, my total mortgage payment, and I just put my cash flow over it to see what percentage return on the money I actually put into the property got. So it was something I did. It was curiosity. So this property,
Adam, this is incredible. So when did you buy this property?
Beginning of 2018, maybe.
Okay, so you're almost 3 years old now. Okay. And did you refinance that property yet?
No, we haven't refinanced any of these properties.
Oh my gosh, it's going to get so much better when you refi. Do you know your mortgage rate on this?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now. We haven't had it. The price point and the amount of money we have in it right now didn't make refis didn't make them make sense at the moment. Let me.
It might make sense now though.
Yeah. So just so people who aren't watching can see, we have for the year we had a
people who aren't watching can see. I like that. That's good.
For cash flow on this property, we made $4,853.88, and cash on cash for the year was 77.96%, and the lifetime cash on cash. So this includes closing costs. It includes every dollar we have ever put into the property. Is 24.29%.
24.29% overall cash on cash for the last 3 years, cash on cash return. That means the comparison of how much cash you put in to how much cash you got out. Cash on cash return is a very simple metric, and that includes every dollar you've got into this. And cash on cash return this year, 77.96%. Adam, even I, who is quite bullish right now, do not believe you. So you got some splaining to do, as Ricky Ricardo would say. I love that. We got to get a sound effect of Ricky Ricardo say, Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Look at it this way. We had 2% maintenance. Our mortgage payment is about $450 a month, and our management fee is $50. Our interest rate on it is 4.75%.
And what is your rent?
Our rent is $917.
Wow.
So I mean, we're looking at you're getting $400 a month cash flow on average on this property, and you're looking at, you know, $500 a month between mortgage and maintenance, and then, or mortgage and management, and then 2% of that is maintenance on this property. So that's how you get your 78% cash on cash for the year.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah. That is amazing.
So that was one. Now, not all of them are this great. The other one in Jackson didn't do so hot. This one,
okay, so here we go. Now we're going to even it out and average the portfolio. Yeah. So what went wrong here?
Yeah, so we had a tenant who stopped paying and did a lot of damage to the property. And then it became vacant right at the start of COVID.
Okay.
So it was vacant for 3 months, and
not an ideal time to go vacant.
Yeah, we had to drop.
You know, had it vacant 2 months into COVID, you would have been okay because the lockdowns would have lifted, and you would have had someone moving in there. But yeah.
So maintenance this year with the rent we collected, it was 35%. Now, obviously, that's skewed by the fact that we didn't have rent for 4 months. But the cash flow, we lost $2,516.93. It was a negative 31.61% cash on cash. But lifetime for this property, we've still got a 4.67% cash on cash return.
Okay, so you definitely outperformed the best CD you could get at the bank by 500% or more. But let me ask you a question. Is that crazy high maintenance number of 35%? Ouch! Okay, we need a sound effect for that. The bomb. Ouch, that hurt. But with that, is that maintenance or some of that capital improvements? I would argue that I'm going to guess you're going to say that some of that is capital improvement, CapEx, that is going to last for many years to come. That's not maintenance only.
Okay, so it's every dollar that we spent on the property. Now, it was.
Well, tell us how you spent it. Just, did you put in new flooring, new paint?
We had to put new drywall. We had to paint the house because they put holes and stuff.
What they do? Punch the holes in the wall like with their fist?
There were huge chunks of drywall missing from the walls. I don't know what happened.
Adam, did you file an insurance claim? That's an insurance claim.
Well, it wasn't enough to file an insurance claim, but we did file we had a judgment against them, and we went after them, and we got some money back. We came to a settlement with them.
Oh, wow. Good. And so tell us about that. How much was the judgment for, and how much did you end up settling for?
So the judgment was for about $1,500, $1,600.
That's all?
Yeah. So they did it before. We probably could have gone back to court and gotten a better judgment. I think they just did the judgment before the courts closed down, honestly, and before we knew the total cost of the repairs. But we got the judgment there, and then all I did was I got the judgment and I Googled, rent collectors or,
collection agencies
in Jackson, Mississippi, found one that had decent reviews, contacted them. Their charge was $75 to start it, and then 25% of collected money. So I thought, if I get $100 out of it, then I break even.
Okay.
They went after him, and I believe we settled for about half. It was like $700 or $800 they offered to pay, and it wasn't worth continuing the fight to risk not getting that money. They said we can pay it today, so I said take it.
Okay, good. Okay,
and
so
this maintenance also covers the new lease up fee, so it's literally every dollar we put into it.
Yeah. Okay. So you've still made money on the property, but for this year, you got some tax write-offs there. And I'm saying that in a sort of snarky way. You don't want to ever get that type of tax write-off. But let's go on to the next property because we're already almost at an hour here.
So Little Rock, this property, we had to do some fixes to it to make it to qualify for Section 8. There were just a couple things, so it cost a little bit to get that up and ready to go. So it's still positive cash flow at $898.95. We made 11.65% on the cash we put in the property. And then the lifetime cash on cash is at 3.15%.
Okay, awesome. Congratulations. So there you're getting almost 12% annualized cash on cash. And remember, cash on cash doesn't include inflation-induced debt destruction. It doesn't include tax benefits. It doesn't include appreciation. Okay, so his return is considerably higher than that, even on the bad property that had problems. He's just doing straight cash on cash. That's a one-dimensional return rather than the multi-dimensional. Okay, go ahead. So
All
you
right,
made
so
money
this
on
is
that
the first property we ever purchased through the network.
Okay.
It is in Memphis. We had a 4.45% maintenance on the property. We had a $3,728.36 profit for the year, a 70.46% cash on cash return for the year, and lifetime cash on cash is 34.67%.
Awesome. That is phenomenal.
So yeah, this property has been a cash cow for us.
And how long ago did you buy that one?
4 years ago, I believe.
Okay, so 4 years, yeah. So just so you know, Adam, why don't you tell them your story, how you came to know us and came to start investing with us, and then you came to work for us. You're helping clients. You're part of the team.
Yeah, so we were introduced by Naresh, which a lot of people probably know is another one of the investment counselors. I started editing the podcasts, and I've learned about real estate some over the years. I used to work at a financial radio station, and so we had real estate shows there, and I was curious about it. But once I started editing all your podcasts and hearing all your interviews, I thought, well, this could make sense. I need to learn more about it. So I started learning more and more about it. And then one day, Erin and I my wife, we were discussing how we were actually going to make retirement work. And, the stock market, who knows, and so we thought, maybe we'll buy a property. And so I voxed you late at night one night, and you responded and told me, well, you're investing in the stock market. When's the last time you went and, checked out their books and visited their site?
Office. Yeah.
So then we decided to buy this property and said, what's the worst case scenario? This was a cheap property. This property was $53,000 when we bought it.
Wow, $53,000. Now, if anybody lives in California or New York or, South Florida, and they're looking at that,
rent in a year.
Just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So we decided, worst case scenario, it burns down to the ground. We still haven't lost a ton of money on it.
Right.
It obviously would hurt, but it's not the worst case. So we bought this.
Some people, when they have a disaster like that, they make money on their insurance claim. So, it can go that way.
So, yeah, we started buying and loved it and started getting good returns. And eventually, Jason and I talked, and I thought, I want to help other people build their portfolios because you look at these numbers. I'm clearly enjoying the returns that we're getting on the money we've put in so far. So that's kind of my short and sweet story. So our second Memphis house, this one had another vacancy. We had to do some repairs to it. Some of this was also like we had to replace a refrigerator on it. We had to do some make ready. We had to do some yard work on it. Like I mentioned before, we also have our lease up fee included in the maintenance, just because I should just put expenses instead of maintenance. So we had an 18.27% expense on the property. It still cash flowed $813.84. We still made 22.76% on the cash we put in 2020, and lifetime for the property, we're at 8.79% cash on cash.
Wow. I mean, if you just, even folks, let's not even get greedy here. Well, let's get greedy. We might as well. But if you can make 8, 10, 12% a year for several years, you are killing it. I mean, killing it. You don't have to make 34% like one of Adam's other properties or 76% like the other one. Just 8 to 12%, you're going to do great. I mean, now that depends on the inflation rate over that time period as well, but it's pretty good. Yeah, congratulations. Wow.
Right.
Who thinks Adam's numbers are great? And put a thank you in the comments and any questions for Adam sharing this personal stuff. So thank you, Adam. This is great.
So our final Memphis property, this one did pretty well. It had a maintenance of 0.59%. Literally all we paid for was a walkthrough inspection on this property this year. Cash flow of $3,614.92. A 39.68% cash on cash for the year, and a 22.15% lifetime cash on cash. But this property since we've purchased it, has appreciated approximately 40%. So it was in a nice area and it's appreciated great. So all in all, for 2020, these 6 properties got us $11,393.02 in cash flow. We made 34.88% on the money we put in 2020, and we get to depreciate $17,160 on our taxes.
Wow.
So we lost $5,500 according to the IRS.
Okay, Adam, first cha-ching, and then that is awesome. Congratulations. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's really, it's just great to see. And by the way, folks, I didn't know what Adam was going to go through when we started this today. You know, I just sort of leave it to him, and you know, this is the first time I've heard him talk about this. So that is awesome. I love it. I love it. We're spontaneous here, and Robert says thank you, Adam. So that's great, and we're getting some other good comments. Anything else you wanted to go over, Adam, before we wrap it up? Do you have any more in your deck there?
Nope, that's it. And the next slide is just the thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody. We really appreciate you joining us. We want to wish you all the very best in 2021. We'll be back with another live stream on Sunday. And of course, we've got a podcast every day this week. And next year, we're going to bring the podcast back to 3 days a week. Rather, the main podcast, the Creating Wealth Show, will be 3 days a week. And we've been going 5 days a week for quite a while now. And we're going to focus a little bit more on creating some extra YouTube content and some courses and so forth. What else can I say? Be sure to enter our contest where your odds are great. Okay. I'm telling you, folks, you know, you might be one of just 2 people that entered. You have 50% chance of winning. Just kidding.
Actually, there's 2 people. You got 100% chance of winning.
Oh, well, if there are 2 winners, yeah, that's right. But I'm saying if they're 2 different people. Well, that's true. Right. So, okay. 4 people. See, I have Adam here to keep me on track. So if there are 4 people, then you've got a 50% chance of winning. But no, we do have more entries than that. I'm just joking around, but the odds are very good. So enter the contest at jasonhartman.com/contest. What else? I put the link to our new construction investing webinar in the comments. So check out the comment thread below for that link. And of course, we've got our estate planning and asset protection webinar going on. A lot of people have taken advantage of that. Adam, you have too, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm filling out my form for Bob so that I can send it to him, and trying to set up a call with him for late January so that Aaron can join in on it too.
Good stuff. So both you and your wife are going to get your assets protected and your estate planned, and that's great. Yeah, he offers a really, really very bargain priced deal, and it's a real attorney. You know, it's not one of these mills. It's, you know, thoughtfully considered and helpful and all of that good stuff. So good stuff. So thanks again, Adam. Happy New Year to everybody. And we will be back on Sunday. But of course, today, tomorrow, all week, we'll have more podcasts at the Creating Wealth Show. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we will talk to you later. Happy New Year.